Hey everyone, Dan at Ochco Bushcraft. Welcome to part 4 of Real Survival. So if you haven't watched the first 3 videos, please go back and watch those. That way you'll get the theme of what's going on and what we're doing out here. Basically, it's hunting season, why I'm dressed in the red and the orange. We did a first video on basic survival gear that everyone should have with them when they're out here hunting or hiking or fishing or camping, whatever. Number 2 video, we went out and we got lost and we talked about some priorities, getting off the cold ground and being insulated. Number 3, signaling. Today we're going to do early season shelter. Okay, basically hunting season here in the Ochocos lasts for almost about 4 months, really, from all the early archery seasons into the rifle seasons, elk and deer, and then we have a late hunting season for elk. So basically, weather-wise, it falls into 2 seasons. When hunting season starts, it's hot and it's dry, and there isn't even a lot of cool down at night. It might only get down to 60 at night. So just throwing a bed of pine needles on the ground and putting your emergency blanket over you or a warm shirt, and you're probably fine. As hunting season progresses, it stays dry and it's warm in the daytimes. Right now we're still hitting around 80 in the daytime, but it is getting down right around 32 degrees at night. So there's a big drop, which is one of the reasons I mentioned in an earlier video, when you take your pack out in the morning and it starts to warm up, don't leave your extra clothing in your vehicle. Stuff it in your pack, because you go back out for an evening hunt. That happens to be the time that you get lost and have to stay out. You want your extra clothing with you down inside your pack. So basically we're going to do 2 shelter videos, an early season and a late season. We're in the early hunting season right now. It's extremely dry out here. If we try to do a fire to stay warm at night, we're probably going to cause a forest fire, and we're going to be on the run in the middle of the night trying to outrun a wildfire. So fire is off the table right now. Later on, we're going to get rain, we're going to get snow. We're going to have a completely different setup for shelter with fire than we have now. So this is early hunting season shelter. It's very dry. It hasn't rained out here for weeks. There's no rain in the forecast. This is pretty much standard weather for early hunting season. It's warm and it's dry, but it gets cold at night. It's right about 35 degrees, just above freezing. So I'm trying to stay warm. So if I'm lost and I got to stay the night, okay, I might think it's fine at 70 or 80 degrees and I feel great. But as soon as the sun's down, the temperature is going to drop fast. So we're going to do a basic early hunting season shelter. We need our blanket. Okay, we may have, if we've been lost during the daytime, we've used this for a daytime signal. Sun's going down now. We're going to use it for part of our bed. We need a trash bag. You should have a couple of these, drum liners, large trash bags, whatever. A couple in your pack. And here's a situation: you really need your leather gloves, because we're going to be scooping up pine needles, and you risk getting all kinds of little cuts and thistles and stickers and stuff in your fingers. So you want those leather gloves. So we're going to use these 3 objects and we're going to make a real simple shelter. So let's get started. I'm going to set these to the side, take you guys on a little walk, show you what I've already done, and show you what we're looking for resources. So here we go. Okay. Let's just assume that we've been out here hunting and it's starting to get dark. And I know I'm not going to make it back to the vehicle. Somehow I've got turned around. I didn't put up my flagging tape, whatever. Okay, I am surrounded by shelter material. First thing, I'm gonna save it, make sure you guys can see me here. Hang on, okay. First thing, pine needles. Lots and lots of pine needles everywhere. I'm surrounded by pine trees. You can see them behind me and in front of me when I turn you back around. We're gonna get big piles of pine needles. What's close to where we decide to make our shelter, we can just use our feet and kick them up into piles and dump them right there. If there's not enough close by and we have to go for a little walk, we'll take our trash bag, fill our trash bag, and haul back more pine needles. So we're gonna make a bear bed. Now, what a bear bed is just basically a framed in pile of pine needles that we can crawl down into up against a tree that is blocking any wind. So for example, let's take this tree right here. Let's just suppose that the wind is coming towards the camera. So I would build my shelter right here. I'll find a couple broken logs, big rocks, anything that I can to make me a little frame, like a bed frame. A little wall here, a little wall on this side, a little wall in front. Okay, the wind is coming this way. That's the thing. Make sure you know your wind direction. Test it with some tree moss. Take some tree moss, drop it, or some fine grass. Get your wind direction. There's a breeze, a slight breeze coming this way. So this tree would be my wind block. I make a little frame, fill it with a huge amount of pine needles, and then we're just going to crawl down in it, use our emergency blanket, cover that with a thick layer of pine needles over us, a thick layer under us, and we will stay warm all night. And in the event that it did rain, the emergency blanket is waterproof. Just snuggle down underneath it and stay warm and dry. So, our first resource that we're going to need is pine needles. Now, if you're up in the high country where there's no more pine, then you're going to be in the need of fir boughs. And you're not going to find a bunch of dead fir boughs on the ground. You're going to have to cut green. So you're going to just have to take your saw or your knife and just make you a couple big piles of fir boughs and do the exact same thing with the fir boughs as we're going to do with the pine needles. We're in a fir and pine mixed forest. So right over here, I got a huge pine tree. So here in just a minute, we're going to take that garbage bag over to that tree and start filling it with pine needles. As you can see, here's a broken log over there, or that would work perfect for one side. Here's one over here. That would work perfect for a side. I actually drug a couple up here and got a little bit of a start. I'll turn you guys around. Okay. Then I'll show you. So I actually started a little bit, and we're gonna go get the rest of our materials and finish this. Okay, make sure you guys can see. All right, so that framework, I just grabbed a couple broken off logs. And again, whatever you can find. If you need to find 2 or 3 small ones and stack them up, you can stack them up. If you need some big rocks, whatever, just make a little frame that you can fill with pine needles and crawl down into. And take your time. Okay, you got your headlamp if it gets dark. Don't panic. Don't get crazy and start huffing and puffing and getting all hot and sweaty. Take your time. I grabbed a few of these dead logs, drug them over here behind a tree. I've grabbed up just pine needles that were real close. I basically kicked up some piles with my feet, threw them in here, didn't get short-winded, didn't break a sweat, only took a few minutes. It was just a rough idea of what we're gonna do. We'll fill this all up with pine needles. The emergency blanket over us, and then pine needles on top of that. I'm protected from the wind here. I got some sides here to keep all the pine needles in on me rather than spreading out. And we'll hunker down right here for the night. All right. Let me go get my gear that I need, and we'll start gathering some pine needles and bagging them up and bringing them over. Okay, I'm not gonna worry too much right now about picking all of the pine cones and sticks out of the pine needles. When I get everything made into my bed over there, if there's some uncomfortable things poking into me, I'll toss them out then. Right now, my priority is to just get that big insulated bed made, so as it gets darker and the temperature starts to drop, I got a place to snuggle down into. So I'll show you, probably the easiest way is to start with your feet and just kick up a big pile and then start filling your bag. And like so. So I'll pause you guys. I'll kick up another 2 or 3 big piles of pine needles, fill this bag, and then we'll take it over and dump it into our bear bed and finish it off. Snuggle down into it and see how warm it is. Okay, that only took me a couple minutes. I just went right around this tree and kicked up big piles of pine needles, and I got the bag full. So let me move you guys back over to where our bear bed is, and then I'll haul these over, and probably we'll get another half of a bag, maybe a full bag, we'll see. But this is going to give us a real good start and an idea of what we're going to be settling into for the night. Okay, what you just saw was me crawling in to our bear bed. So I hauled back one big load. I'm probably going to get, I would say, another half to 3/4 of a bag and bring it over, and I'll pile it up along the side here to pull over the top if I need it. So what I've got now is I've got a thick layer of pine needles under me. So none of the cold from the ground is going to take away my heat. I have layers of pine needles that are twice that high on the side of me, next to these little walls that I made by just throwing a couple logs down. So if I just snuggle down in there, I got warmth underneath me and I got warmth on the sides because those pine needles are pushing right up against my shoulders and the outside of my thighs. So the only place the cold is getting at me is on the top. Now, on a warmer night, let's say it's only going to get down to maybe 45, that's a little bit chilly, but with the pine needles under me, beside me, 3 layers of clothing on, my cap, and this over the top of me, I probably would be comfortable for the night. Because it's getting down closer to freezing, I would put this in there, and then, like I said, go get another bag full of pine needles and pull them over top of me. Let's just get in here and see how that would work with what I've got. So that's the general idea. Obviously, I do need another probably 3/4 of a bag. And I had a small pile here on the side, and you've seen how I just pulled that over me. Basically, I'll go get another 3/4 of a bag or so, maybe even a whole bag, and I'll put it right here beside me on one side in a huge pile. I'll pull the blanket over me and then take that whole pile of pine needles and pull it over the top of the blanket the best I'm able. Set my backpack up here under my head for a pillow. Pull the blanket all the way up over me and snuggle down in there. And I'll tell you what, right now, as I said, it's about 35. Just getting down under there with that little bit of pine needles on top, this blanket, but all those pine needles around my shoulders and stuff. It's warm in there. I could tell immediately. I was, as soon as I pulled that cover over me, I could feel the warm air in there around me. So another bag of those pine needles to pull up on top of this, and we're set, you know. And again, if it were to rain, this is waterproof. The pine needles will continue to insulate. They'll be on top of this. This is going to keep us dry. And that's a basic bear bed. Now, I just talked to a guy. I want to share this real quick. I talked to a guy this week who was lost here in the Ochocos during hunting season when he was about 12 years old. And his family had taught him to make a shelter very similar to this, to make big piles of pine needles, to crawl down inside the pine needles, bury yourself, and cover yourself up. So when he got lost, he was only 12 at the time, here in the Ochocos during hunting season, he did what he had been told, and he got down in the pine needles and spent the night in there. And he said he laid awake most of the night, not because of cold, but because of worry, and made it fine through the night. The next morning he got up. He actually found the creek that he was looking for and followed it down to camp. He had lost his way late in the afternoon. It got dark, and he built this pretty much real similar to this. The only thing we're adding, I said we're adding some walls. That just gives us a layer of pine needles up around our shoulders and next to our thighs and stuff. And it also, if we happen to toss and turn a little bit, keeps the pine needles from falling away. So we have two little side walls, a little wall here in the back so they all don't start sliding down away from our feet. And again, we got the tree behind us, which, check your wind direction before you build your bear bed. That's blocking off the wind. And throw the pack under there for a pillow and settle in for the night. And if things are damp, let's say it has rain and things are damp, that big garbage bag, once you're all done hauling your pine needles, you can lay that underneath you to stay dry, and then this over the top of you to stay dry. So either way you're set. Just a basic shelter to survive. You're not out here doing bushcraft. You're a hunter. You're lost. You need to survive a cold night. A real simple, easy way. It only took me a few minutes. By the time I gathered up all of these pine needles, threw these dead logs next to this tree and stuff, I think I've done a total of 10 minutes. And I haven't walked more than 25 feet, maybe even only 20 feet in any direction to gather my resources. So I didn't work up a sweat. I didn't get winded. I've got my bottle of water. I'll hydrate, tuck down in here as it gets dark, spend the night. And then when morning comes, back to what was done in the signaling video to help assist in my rescue, blowing my whistle, using my signal mirror, setting out lots of bright orange. There's 30 yards that way, there's an open hill, a wide open hillside. Make some of those signaling tripods with orange all over them. Set this out and get myself rescued and get out of here. So there it is, guys, a basic early hunting season shelter. Now we're going to come back when it snows and starts raining and getting miserable out here and do a late season hunting shelter, basically with the same idea. Huge piles of debris to get up inside of. Difference being, we'll build a roof and a fire out in front, and we'll use that fire to reflect heat in on us and keep us warm throughout the night in a really bad storm. And as soon as daylight comes, use that smoke to let people know where we're at. Dan at Ochoco Bushcraft. If you like this series or you watch my videos, please hit the subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. Take care, guys.